Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Washington, D.C., the home of the world champion Washington Nationals. And to the Navy Memorial for the 7th Annual Bob Feller Act of Valor Award Ceremony. Please rise for the presentation of the colors, singing of the national anthem, and the invocation. Color Guard, present the colors. Please join Musician Senior Chief Adam C. Tyler, United States Navy, in singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Lieutenant John Uboko, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy, will now deliver the invocation.
Please join me with prayer. Heavenly Father, your unfailing love is as vast as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches beyond the clouds. For you are the fountain of life, the light by which we see. And we are thankful that you have blessed our nation with so many men and women who live lives of valor, with hearts that inspire the type of courage that is necessary to serve and defend our nation, and with hearts that open our eyes to the needs of our friends and communities. We are especially thankful for those who we will honor tonight for their uncommon level of valor, people who embody the same type of dedication and service that characterized Bob Feller, the same type of courage and strength that is displayed by the sailors and Marines who are remembered in this memorial in which we now gather. And we thank you, Almighty God, for their sacrifice and their example. We are excited to be able to recognize others who walk in their footsteps. Thank you for this time that we have to celebrate individuals and commands who represent the very best of our country. And we ask your richest blessings upon their lives, their families, and those they lead. We ask that you use this ceremony to inspire each of us to even greater acts of valor and humble service to you, our nation, and those we love. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. I will now turn the festivities of this evening over to a gentleman. Please take your seats. Sorry. I will now turn the festivities of this evening over to a gentleman who has enjoyed a 41-year career in Major League Baseball, a personal close friend to Bob Feller, and a founding board member of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation. Please welcome Senior Vice President, Public Affairs for the Cleveland Indians, Bob told you I was going to screw that up. DiBiasio.
Very good, Captain. Very good. Thank you, Captain Zettler. I think he's getting me back for misspelling his name in a script every time that we would send it back and forth. Good evening, everyone. And on behalf of Major League Baseball and the Cleveland Indians, the proud home of Bob Feller, we thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening and welcome you to the 7th Annual Bob Feller Act of Valor Award Ceremony. We have a wonderful evening planned, great stories to share, a number of remarkable, dedicated people that we will recognize and honor this evening. People who in their own personal and professional way are dedicated to the service of our country. For the first time this evening, with the assistance of the Defense Media Activity, tonight's ceremony will be streaming live to military people everywhere. So for those of you who are joining us, we welcome you. The mission of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation, through the unique intersection of baseball and the United States Navy, is to recognize and honor those who support our servicemen and servicewomen with the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. We also use this story of Bob Feller to educate the youth of today on the lessons of citizenship, service to one's country, and sacrifice in times of great national need. Teaching the legacy of the greatest generation to the youngest generation, we believe, will help instill in them the virtue of service to others. Service to others. It is the bedrock of our mission. It will be the constant theme throughout this evening, and we do so in a building that is a testament to service to others. We are fortunate to have with us some very special guests this evening. Please welcome our host this evening, Rear Admiral Frank Thorpe, U.S. Navy, retired. Captain T.R. Buchanan, the 88th U.S. Naval Academy Commandment of Midshipmen. Fleet Master Chief Scott Benning, U.S. Navy, retired, former Foundation Board member, and current Director of Operations at Director Navy Staff. Congressman Trent Kelly of Mississippi, currently serving as Brigadier General with the Joint Force Headquarters for the state of Mississippi. As always, a very special welcome to the Feller family in attendance this evening, Bob's son Steve and grandson Daniel. We will hear from Daniel in a few minutes. Please stand to be recognized, guys. I know they clap for you, but the two of you, please stand. Steve and Daniel. Once again, we are honored and excited to have Coach Costi and the Naval Academy baseball team with us this evening. Gentlemen, congratulations on another successful baseball season that included a fifth straight Patriot League regular season title. Overall, the midshipmen posted a 39-17 record, highlighted by the program's 2,000th win. So congratulations, guys. It's always great to have you with us. And we would like to say hello to Josh Alkin, who is Major League Baseball's Vice President of Government Relations. In the back. He's in the bleachers tonight. We would also like to recognize all of our distinguished Navy and Marine veterans, leaders, and especially the numerous Chief, Senior Chief, and Master Chief Petty Officers who have joined us this evening to help honor one of their own. Tonight, we are proud to recognize 2 junior peer-to-peer mentorship groups, a United States Marine non-commissioned officer with the Jerry Coleman Award, an active duty Chief Petty Officer, a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and a current member of Major League Baseball, selected from a long list of uniformed personnel who are dedicated to providing support for our servicemen and servicewomen. We recognize and honor exemplary service to our country, and we could not do so this evening without the support of our sponsors, USAA Insurance Company, Huntington Ingalls Industries, the Cleveland Indians, yay, you can clap for them, thank you, BWXT, and CCH, Custom Coin Holders. Will the representatives of our sponsors please stand and be recognized? Thank you for your support. We would also like to recognize the efforts of all involved who worked throughout the year to bring the vision of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation to life. A huge thank you to the foundation board, naval liaisons, and advisors. Would you please stand and be recognized? Another job well done. Tonight we honor the legacy of Chief Petty Officer Bob Feller. Chief Feller remains a touchstone for the community of chiefs. Bob's story is timeless. To this day it is taught during Chief Petty Officer training to those sailors who have been selected for advancement to chief. His service to his country and his leadership during wartime make him an exemplary figure and one who inspires chiefs to this day. It is a combination of so many aspects of Bob Feller's life that led him to stand out among the great players. None more so than his service to his country when he enlisted on the first day after the attack on Pearl Harbor and immediately volunteered for combat duty. At the age of 23, he was the first Major League Baseball player to do so. Bob Feller was a true patriot, decorated with 6 campaign ribbons and 8 battle stars while serving aboard the USS Alabama in both the Pacific and North Atlantic, earning the rank of Chief Petty Officer. It is in that spirit the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation has been established. The foundation, through the unique intersection of baseball and the U.S. Navy, recognizes and honors those who support our servicemen and women with the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. The foundation uses the Bob Feller story, Hall of Fame achievement on the baseball diamond, and service to his country as the framework of our mission. As the foundation moves forward with its mission, we look forward to setting a new standard for social responsibility by educating the youngest generation on the virtues of citizenship, service, sacrifice, and legacy. We salute and honor all whose actions, values, and dedication to our servicemen and women represents the dignity and integrity displayed by Feller himself.
World War II was the one we had to win. We had unrelenting resolve, not only in the military. I was in the Navy, aboard the Alabama, 34 months, and the gun captain. I went to War College in Newport, Rhode Island. And the people at home, working in the factories and in the fields and on the farms, and the men and women supporting us at home, had unrelenting resolve that we were going to win that great war. And I remember Iwo Jima, where we lost 7,000 men. Tarawa, 4,000. D.E. Day, where Yogi Berra was on a 50 caliber machine gun on a landing craft. I'm not a hero. Heroes seldom return from wars. Survivors return from wars. Well, I'm very proud of my military career, and I don't miss those 100 wins whatsoever. We're a free country. That was what it was all about.
To provide a more personal peek into the life of Bob Feller, please welcome his grandson, Daniel.
Thanks so much, and good evening. I'm Daniel Feller, Bob's grandson. I was a former D3 pitcher. Lucky for me, I didn't have to face the midshipmen. I only threw 87, so I definitely didn't get my grandfather's arm, and I didn't get his hair either. On behalf of the Feller family, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. I'd like to thank the Cleveland Indians and everybody involved with the Act of Valor Foundation for communicating my grandfather's values and teaching them to the next generation. Tonight I just wanted to say a few words about my grandfather and kind of bring his legend to life, talk about some of the qualities that the Act of Valor Foundation is now honoring. So when I was playing high school, every year I spent 2 weeks with Bob at the Indians spring training camp in Arizona. Each morning, 90-year-old Bob would sit down in his locker in the Major League clubhouse, put on his stirrups and his monkey suit, which is what he liked to call baseball uniforms, and walk the grounds looking for someone to impart his wisdom on. Well, he, of course, was happy to field questions from players and coaches about how he used to pitch to guys like Ted Williams. He said, throw Ted Williams a curveball in the dirt, or Joe DiMaggio, so throw fastballs up in the zone. The thing that he most liked talking about was, of course, his service aboard the battleship. So I'd watch dumbfounded as he would interrupt C.C. Sabathia's third lunch and start lecturing the 6'6", 300-pound left-hander about the finer points of operating an anti-aircraft gun. He might recount his experiences about the Marianas Turkey Shoot, also known as the Battle of the Philippine Sea, while he was throwing me batting practice at age 90 to one of the hitting coaches. It was just kind of the conversations that he liked to have. I also really liked hearing him tell about how he didn't develop his slider until he was in the Navy. So he was playing catch on the deck of the battleship, and they would get off on these islands in the Pacific, and that's where he learned to throw that pitch. And he credited that pitch with helping carry the baseball team of the Alabama to the Fleet Championship. And can you imagine one of the opponents from one of the other ships getting off a Pacific island? There's all this sand, there's coconut trees, and they're saying, Bob Feller is going to pitch the game tonight. Just crazy. So he talked about his Navy experience so much because, he thought baseball was really important, but at the end of the day, it was always secondary to country in both times of war and peace. As a pitcher, he knew he was an individual, a member of a small team. As a chief petty officer, he was a member of a much larger team, a ship, a fleet, and a nation. That's definitely how he wanted to be remembered. So once again, on behalf of the Feller family, thanks for coming, and enjoy the rest of the ceremony.
Thank you, Daniel. Tonight we celebrate the unique intersection of Major League Baseball and the U.S. Navy. In addition to our honoree this evening, the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation was proud to recognize a number of major leaguers who in their own way support our military. We will begin by highlighting each of those gentlemen tonight, but we begin and we'll salute three. The first, Rick Porcello of the Boston Red Sox. All right, enough of this. Following a visit to Walter Reed Medical Center, Rick became involved with the Home Base Program, a program that helps service members, veterans, and their families from the invisible wounds, the traumatic brain injury, the post-traumatic stress, and related conditions. Rick provides tickets to Fenway and does many meets and greets during BP with those service members participating in the program. Also, Will Smith of the San Francisco Giants. Will has dedicated his off-field. Oh, we got Giants fans in the house. Will has dedicated his off-field effort to support our military, particularly Navy SEALs and their families. He has developed personal relationships with several Navy SEALs and provides tickets, BP, meet and greets for Navy SEALs and their families. His inspiration comes from the fact that his family, his two grandfathers, both served. James Allen Wyndham in the Marines and Harry Clinton Smith in the U.S. Navy. Josh Reddick of the Houston Astros. You guys can boo them, right? That's okay in D.C. to, I guess, boo them. Josh has contributed his time and resources to provide a positive experience for military veterans and their families at Minute Maid Park. In addition to the tickets and meet and greet BP experiences for military families, Josh provides financial assistance to the Wounded Warrior Project and the Military Order of the Purple Heart. In addition to recognizing and honoring those who support our military, education is a primary mission of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation. 2 years ago, under the guidance of Command Sergeant Major Steve Curtis and Michael Caton, the foundation created the Military Children Award. The award is given as part of the foundation's educational outreach to the younger generation. To provide an update on the Military Children Award, please welcome Command Sergeant Major Steve Curtis. And big Red Sox fan.
That's for sure. Good evening, everybody. I don't know which is worse, standing up here or facing a Randy Johnson fastball, but probably standing up here. And he is a tall guy, I'll tell you. thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I just want to give you an update of our new scholarship program and what we're doing with it in addition to the essay contest. We are very excited to announce our new 2020 Military Children Scholarship Program. The first scholarship will be presented right here at this event next November to a high school senior seeking post-secondary education. Applications will be accepted from veteran family members whose parents have served or who are currently serving with the Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, or the National Guard, or Reserve component. Close consideration will be given to students based on academic achievement and who demonstrate leadership and mentoring qualities through participation in extracurricular or civic activities in school or their communities that exemplify the Foundation's 4 pillars of citizenship, service, sacrifice, and legacy to future generations. In addition to the Military Children Scholarship Program, we will also develop a scholarship program for veterans. I'm very excited about that. Also seeking post-secondary education. Some more to follow with that endeavor. We're in the beginning stages of that. And I'd really like to have you stop by our table, and great President Peter Fertitta wrote a nice book, and all the money will go towards the scholarship program. And if anybody have any questions, please feel free to corner me anytime after the ceremony. And I just want to thank you so much, and I will close with this. I know Bob Feller very well, and I can tell you no one loved this country greater than he. And it's an honor for me to be here tonight in preserving his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. It is now my pleasure to introduce this year's winner, Mia Owen. Mia, would you come forward, please? Mia is 13 years old. She resides in Swansboro, North Carolina, and attends Swansboro Middle School. Mia, you chose Hall of Fame pitcher Ted Lyons, who pitched 21 seasons for the Chicago White Sox, as the subject of your essay. Please share with us why.
I chose Ted Lyons because, first of all, he joined the Marine Corps, and my dad's a Marine, and also he was a pitcher, and while I was playing softball, I was also a pitcher, and, that was sort of cool to me. I was like... And, also, I grew around the sort of Chicago area, and, this White Sox, Cubs, and that sort of just interested me that he was in the White Sox. And,
Can you share a little of your essay with us, please?
Yeah, I chose the last paragraph because I felt like it represented the essay best. The way I can make use of this baseball player's lessons and learn things from just what I've read in biographies written about him shows that the legacy that Lyons has left behind is an honorable one. There are many articles and books that tell of his accomplishments and his behavior with teammates as well as others, and negative words are scarce. It is clear that he represented the 4 pillars. I firmly believe that his actions and achievements from his lifetime are a great example for others. Like many of the veterans and Hall of Fame players that served during World War II, he gave time in his life to a greater cause, and that says a lot. It tells me that not only was he a great baseball player or a funny man, but a good person. That is something that I believe should be strived for, learned from, and appreciated.
Thank you, Mia. Steve, you want to come up? Peter? Mia, that was awesome. Thank you very much. Please allow me to introduce Mia's parents, her father, U.S. Marine Corps Colonel David Owen, and her mother, Lisa Fitzpatrick. Colonel Owen has served with distinction for 28 years and is currently assigned to Joint Staff J3 Operations at the Pentagon. Thank you for your service, sir. Peter, Steve, would you please present Mia with her award? We're going to turn you into a hitter now with the bat. We celebrate two more current big leaguers who were nominees for the 2019 Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. Steven Matz, New York Mets. In 2016, Steven launched the True 32 program as a way to say thank you to our servicemen and servicewomen and first responders of the NYPD and New York firefighters. Steven does regular meet and greets with the True 32 heroes at Citi Field, numbering more than 300 worthy honorees during the 2019 baseball season. Next, Josh Hader, Milwaukee Brewers. Josh is committed to creating memorable experiences for active and retired members of the military, whether it's tickets, BP meet and greets, or his involvement with the Fisher House, Wisconsin, Soldier House, USO Milwaukee, and the Milwaukee VA Medical Center. Foundation President Peter Fertig's vision for the Act of Valor Foundation and award ceremony developed as a personal relationship with Bob Feller. As he learned Bob's story, Peter felt the need to ensure his legacy of service in our Navy alongside his Hall of Fame baseball career by recognizing those who emulate Mr. Feller's service. Under Peter's leadership, the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation has enjoyed another banner year in 2019. To provide an update on the accomplishments of the foundation, please welcome author, poet, businessman, foundation president, Peter Fertig.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all of our distinguished guests, their families, and good Americans from every corner of this great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in our nation's capital, and welcome to Washington, D.C., home of the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals. As a Yankee fan, it's very, very difficult to say. This evening, we pledge an allegiance to an indivisible America. Once a year, we come together in this magnificent memorial where we have called home for the past 7 years. Admiral Thorpe, thank you to you and your team. This evening, we will recognize unbelievable Americans who have breathed liberty into our country and in turn made us a stronger nation. Tonight, we take the time to remind our supporters and those new to our foundation that our ceremony is a teaching moment for our country. That this award and our foundation is part of an American way of life, that we look to honor those within the United States Navy and Marine Corps, as well as those within Major League Baseball and the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Never before in the history of this illustrious republic has an award like this been set forth to honor Americans for what they do in support of those who sacrifice and serve America. This evening, we look back 75 years to a generation in the sunset of their lives. Seeds that were sown so very long ago have been consecrated and reaped by every generation to follow. Hope, faith, and freedom depended upon victory, American victory. When Bob Feller was asked what he wanted his legacy to be known for, he simply stated he wanted to be known as a good American. Our foundation took these words to heart. as we will honor individuals that should inspire every American with confidence, conviction, and courage. Dr. Maya Angelou stated that courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue with consistency. We understand that this will be an outstanding moment in our lives of our 2019 recipients, their families, and those who have honored our country. On behalf of our foundation and a grateful nation, we take this platform to say thank you. Thank you for being a strong symbol of hope for America. There were 500 Major League Baseball players and 37 Hall of Famers that served our country in a time of great national need, led by Bob Feller. This group carried the torch of liberty to both sides of the planet in World War II. And tonight, we will bring together individuals from all over America who sprinkle their spirit of democracy into our vision. I continue to thank God for their tireless efforts. A special thank you to my wife, Kelly, and to our family, along with those who kindly give of their time, their talent, and their treasure. We have the ability to work on these programs because of your sacrifice. America is focused on remembering our service, and we remain vigilant to those who help bring their devoted integrity and strong principles needed in helping make our country become a little stronger with their thoughtful acts of valor. As 2019 arrived, the ripple began. We were propelled by our intern team for our foundation's second annual speaker series at Ohio University. As the winter continued to unfold, the idea to create a podcast called American Valor began. None of us had any experience in this realm, but we instill into our team that becoming the best version of yourself will require courage and risk. And as we worked through the uncertainty, the team grew more comfortable and became better and stronger. To date, the team has interviewed Active Valor recipients Johnny Bench, Tommy Lasorda, Brad Ziegler, Gunny Rose, and we've also interviewed Bob DiBiasio, Lieutenant General Flynn, Vice Admiral Jay Donnelly, Coach Costi. We've spent some time with him, along with Mitch Harris, the first player in 100 years to serve at the Naval Academy and Major League Baseball with the St. Louis Cardinals. We spoke to our education chair, Command Sergeant Major Steve Curtis, as well as Force Master Chief Dr. C.J. Mitchell, and a new friend to the Foundation, Steve Gonzalez, who works very closely with the American Legion. Finally, we spoke to the 70th Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable John Dalton, and the 75th Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Ray Mabus, to gain their thoughts on American valor. As the winter season continued to cause tough moments for our friends up north, spring training arrived just in time. Steve Curtis ran from the state of Maine in 25 feet of snow and went down to sunny Florida, spending time developing relationships on behalf of the Foundation. As we began to come out of spring training, our focus turned to the 37 Hall of Fame countdown to Bob Feller's only opening day, no-hitter. On June 6, 2019, on the 75th anniversary of D-Day, the Foundation was again at the tip of the spear, remembering a significant moment in American and world history. We work with three incredible museums: the Baseball Heritage Museum in Cleveland, the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City, and the Yogi Berra Museum in Little Falls, New Jersey, honoring the World War II veterans who served at D-Day, including two of our own, Yogi Berra and Leon Day. A tremendous thank you to Jim Folk and Bob DiBiasio, and the unbelievable work done in Cleveland the incredible work at the Yogi Berra Museum. We would also like to express thanks to Kansas City with our Chief Petty Officers at the Negro League Baseball Museum and wonderful work done by the Foundation and our supporters, and a true honor to be part of. The Cleveland Indians made the moment exceptional with Undersecretary Mobley and his wife Robin, along with Ann Feller and hundreds of World War II military representatives. As the summer months began, we were invited to Cooperstown by the National Baseball Hall of Fame to present our Patriot program to the fans at Doubleday Field. We created an awareness program by presenting each fan with a commemorative book jacket by our Walk of Heroes in tribute to the 37 Hall of Famers that served during World War II. A special thank you again to Steve Curtis and Gunny Sergeant Rose, our 2018 Act of Valor Marine recipient, in coming on such short notice to travel all the way to Cooperstown to be part of something very extraordinary. I would be remiss not to thank Nathaniel Cameron for traveling with his cousin Christina all the way from Ohio to help support us. Nathaniel has been with the Foundation almost 2 years, and because of students like Nathaniel, the Foundation undertook a program in honoring our interns who understand our mission and care deeply about America. So we created a fellowship program in 2019. Nathaniel is our first fellow. We see bright hope for America as our intern team does such incredible work. In the intern team, including Lexi Ross, who just graduated, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you for your terrific efforts. As the summer months warmed, we had 9 nominees from Major League Baseball that have been recognized for helping our military in their own distinct and special way. A special thank you to Miss Jen Underwood for her help in bringing together all the moving parts necessary within baseball and the Navy Chief community. What a great job she has done. Thank you, Jen. Everything that we have done has led us to tonight, where we are live streaming our event all over the world. To our military, with a special thank you from retired Admiral Michael Jabley and the Defense Media Activity. Thank you. As well as Mr. Nick Patrici. Nick has done some great work. He's in charge of our marketing. And Lee Diener, president of the Leading Edge Training Solutions, a veteran-owned online event company who will be producing an online program of this event for those supporters who could not be with us this evening. What a year. Great Americans helping our country become a little stronger. Thank you for your tireless efforts. We cannot do all of this without the financial loyalty from all of you as we embark on bigger and better programs in 2020, including our new scholarship program. We humbly ask your assistance. Just a little from a lot with the help will support all of our work. I leave you this evening with a quote from our greatest president, General George Washington, as I and others within the Foundation will look to follow in his footsteps. As he stated, I shall make it our most agreeable part of my duty to study merit and regard the brave and deserving. Thank you all for your time this evening. It has been my honor and pleasure getting to know all of you more personally. Have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving and enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for your leadership. Let's recognize 3 more current big leaguers who earned nomination for the 2019 Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. Craig Stammen of the San Diego Padres. Many in this room are aware of Craig, former Washington National, and his commitment to our military. He took that commitment with him to San Diego, establishing the United United Heroes League program at Petco Park. He is the leader of the Padres players who provide numerous special experiences at Petco for families of the military all season long, as well as at local military installations. Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins. Byron's, no Twins fans here? That's okay. Byron Buxton, Minnesota Twins. Byron's dedication to those who serve comes from the heart, as his brother Felton serves in the U.S. Navy. This season, Byron initiated the Buxton's Battalion program, providing special experiences at Target Field for military families. Prior to the 2019 season, he pledged $100 per win to the Minnesota Military Family Foundation. Not sure Byron knew that the Minnesota Twins would go on to win 101 games this year. Only the second time in franchise history that they did that, much to the chagrin of the Cleveland Indians. Lastly, Terry Francona, Cleveland Indians. We chose our skipper as our 2019 nominee because of his long-standing support of our military, a former honorary co-chair of the Marine Scholarship Foundation, Tito as we call him. For the past 7 seasons in Cleveland has provided special experiences for military families at Progressive Field through what is called the Friends of Francona program, which serves more than 500 military and military families per season. We thank those nominees around Major League Baseball for their support of our servicemen and women, but please know there are many who proudly wear a Major League Baseball uniform, who are passionate when it comes to community impact, whether it's the support of our military, first responders, or our youth. As Peter mentioned, 2019 was a very special year in our nation's history as we honored the 75th anniversary of D-Day. The Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation took an active role in saluting our World War II veterans with 3 events around the country. Here on the East Coast, we joined forces with the Yogi Berra Museum, Yogi being our first Hall of Fame honoree. In the Midwest, we partnered with the Negro League Museum in honor of Leon Day. And in Cleveland, we were proud to play host to a remarkable event where nearly 150 World War II vets gathered at League Park, the Indians' first home, and where Bob Feller pitched in the mid-1930s. Undersecretary Thomas B. Modly provided the keynote address. His wife, Robin Modly, as ship sponsor of the USS Cleveland, provided an update on that project. It was truly an emotional day. It was a remarkable day. The sense of pride and camaraderie, the men and women who served in World War II, spoke to what we are doing here tonight with the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation. We treated those veterans and their families to our ball game that night against the Minnesota Twins. Nearly 500 total. A memorable day, a memorable evening, and I must, as Peter did, thank my buddy Jim Folk, who's here, our VP of Ballpark Operations, who worked tirelessly to make sure our World War II veterans and their families had a remarkable time at Progressive Field. I didn't know we owned that many wheelchairs, Jim, that we were able to get everybody in and have an absolutely remarkable time. We were honored. We are also honored to have Rear Admiral Joanna Noonan toss out the ceremonial first pitch that evening. I dare say we may never again see a gathering of World War II vets as large as the one we witnessed and enjoyed at League Park this past summer. It was truly an honor for the Cleveland Indians to be a part of such a remarkable event. It is now time to present our awards. Leading off will be the Peer-to-Peer Mentorship Award, which recognizes a group of sailors 18 to 25 years old who have most effectively worked together as a team to promote peer-to-peer mentorship. To announce the awards, please welcome Rear Admiral Michael Jabali, U.S. Navy, retired.
Thank you, Bobby. Before I get to the awards, a few thoughts. First, we love Bob Feller's story, but did you know that actually a similar one happened 23 years before? On July 27, 1918, the Brooklyn Robins, the nickname Trolley Dodgers had not yet been formalized, called up Harry Heitman from Rochester to start the second game of a doubleheader against the St. Louis Cardinals. He faced 4 batters, gave up hits to all 4, and was promptly pulled from the game. All 4 scored, leading to a 22-7 St. Louis victory. Heitman left the game in the first inning, packed up his locker, walked out of the stadium while the game was still going on, and immediately enlisted in the United States Navy. He never pitched in the major leagues again, thus becoming one of 19 Major League Baseball players to retire with an infinite ERA. No point here, I just love that story. So, as some of you may know, I'm a Washington Nationals fan. This is our 7th event, so that means this is the 7th time that I've participated in some fashion or another. This one is different. Let me explain. I'm sure you are all familiar with the story of the 2019 Washington Nationals, so I'm not going to get into that. However, to understand the unexpected catharsis that we enjoyed over the last month and a half, you have to look at years past. In 2013, I stood here and used Bart Giamatti's wonderfully bittersweet quote, "Baseball breaks your heart. It is designed to break your heart." That was when I was still smarting from 2012's NLDS loss to the Cardinals. In 2014, I hearkened back to 1951 as Joe Buck borrowed a famous line from Russ Hodges to call the final out of the NLCS with "The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant," with the Giants advancing at the expense of the Nationals in the NLDS. Or in 2016, when I had absolutely no words to reflect on an NLDS Game 5 that featured a quick hook of ace Max Scherzer, which led to a downward spiral that ended with 2 outs in the 9th, tying run on second, facing ace reliever Clayton Kershaw, with the hopes of the Nationals season resting on the shoulders of Wilmer Defoe. It did not end well. The nadir had to be in 2017 against the Cubs, much worse than the years that we didn't even make the playoffs, when Max Scherzer, pitching in relief, combined with Matt Wieters to move a Sterling inning into the realm of the bizarre. After striking out Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo on 6 pitches and going up 0 balls, 2 strikes on Will Wilson Contreras, we watched the following: an infield single, up 1-2 on Ben Zobrist, a bloop single, then a 2-run double, and then, in rapid succession, an intentional walk, a strikeout with the batter reaching first base on a pass ball, aided by Wieters getting hit with the bat on Javi Baez's follow-through, catcher's interference, and then a hit batter. There have only been 5 games in Major League history that ever featured these 4 specific events. Not a single one of 2.73 million half innings had contained these 4. And here they were in succession. When the dust had settled, the score was 7-4 Cubs. That the Nationals mounted a rally was commendable, but the game ended as a 9-8 loss with Jason Worth and then Bryce Harper striking out against Wade Davis. So after all of that, to watch the 2019 season unfold, the best way to capture it is, of course, with a Bob Feller quote. And it's so good, it's on the back of your program. Every day is a new opportunity. You can build on yesterday's success or put its failures behind and start over again. That's the way life is, with a new game every day, and that's the way baseball is. To me, that sounds an awful lot like go 1-0 today. Tonight, I am pleased to present the 2019 Peer-to-Peer Mentorship Program Awards. In the Ashore category, this year's winner is the Coalition of Sailors Against Destructive Decisions chapter from Training Support Center, Great Lakes. Will you please come forward? Through their focus on shipmates helping shipmates, the Training Support Center Great Lakes CSAD division has built a robust program of positive entertainment events, training, education, and service, reaching thousands of junior sailors. The 2019 Afloat Peer-to-Peer Mentoring Program goes to USS America LHA 6 Junior Enlisted Association. Will you please come forward? Organizing and promoting several positive events each month, the USS America's Junior Enlisted Association has become the commanding officer's top morale organization, focusing on the over 500 members of the command between the ages of 18 and 25. Both the CSAD chapter at TSC Great Lakes and the USS America Junior Enlisted Association have been successful at reducing alcohol-related incidents and other destructive behavior. Please congratulate them again with a round of applause.
Thank you, Michael. Our next award was added 4 years ago to commemorate the service and sacrifice of a baseball legend and Marine, Mr. Jerry Coleman. Like Bob Feller, Jerry Coleman postponed his baseball career to serve his country. At the age of 18, he joined the Marine Corps as a naval aviation cadet. In World War II, Coleman flew 57 combat missions, and in Korea, he flew 63 close air support and interdiction strike missions, making him the only Major League ball player to see combat in 2 wars.
Hero, icon, devoted husband and father, friend. Jerry Coleman was this and so much more to all who knew him. But first and foremost, Jerry Coleman was a Marine.
Service to the country, my time in the United States Marine Corps, 5 years, means more to me than anything that ever happened to me in my life, including baseball, including broadcasting. It is the signature moment of my life, my time in the service in the United States Marines. It's never changed. It's always been that way.
Coleman said the proudest moment in the life so well lived was April 1st, 1944, when he received his pilot's wings as a Marine aviator. As a Major League second baseman with the New York Yankees, he played in 6 World Series, winning 4 times. In 1950, he was the World Series' most valuable player. That led Jerry to a career as a broadcaster, during which he spent 42 seasons in the Padres broadcast. In 2005, Jerry was honored with the Ford C. Frick Award by the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, for his contributions to baseball as a broadcaster. Jerry Coleman was the only Major League Baseball player to see combat in 2 wars, flying 57 combat missions in World War II in an SBD Dauntless dive bomber. He returned to active duty during the Korean War and flew 63 ground support missions in an F-4U Corsair. Among the military awards won by Lieutenant Colonel Coleman are 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses and 13 Air Medals. The Jerry Coleman Award will annually recognize a Marine non-commissioned officer who possesses outstanding leadership and unyielding support of the United States Marine Corps.
To present the Jerry Coleman Award, it is my pleasure to introduce Sergeant Major Troy E. Black.
Thank you, and I can't say your name either.
That's all right.
I worked tonight like last 10 minutes. So, good evening, and we have a number of distinguished guests in the room, but a couple that are important probably to the Navy and the Marine Corps. Former Secretary Dalton, thank you, sir, for being here. Undersecretary Moldley, sir, thank you for being here. There's a good number of retired general officers and flag officers, admirals that are in the room that have served in the Navy and the Marine Corps. Thank you for taking the time this evening to come and recognize these awardees. Most importantly, families and friends of the awardees. I'm going to talk in a moment about service, but I'll say up front right now, it is you who truly serve. The families of those who serve in the uniforms of our armed forces. Thank you. Can I get a small round of applause for our families? And ultimately, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening to recognize a very deserving Marine. I'd like to also take the opportunity to once again thank the Feller family and the Bob Feller Foundation for hosting this exceptional event. Hope it continues for beyond 7 more years, and it looks like it's going to because of all the wonderful things that the foundation is doing. It also is a great way to demonstrate the winning spirit of the Navy and the Marine Corps team and the virtue of service to oneself. Service. Service is that thing that each one of us does to support others. Not only serving the cloth of someone who serves in a uniform, but for those that serve in our communities, serve the youth leagues that our teams or that our children play on, serve in the support organizations that guide our youth. It's those people that serve in many ways that we're here to recognize this evening, but mostly those that are in Navy and Marine Corps uniforms. Gunnery Sergeant McMillan has a dedicated and long history in the Marine Corps. He served a whopping 12 years. Now, why it's important is he was promoted to Gunnery Sergeant. He served 12 years, about the same amount of time that I served in the Marine Corps as a gunner until I was promoted to Gunnery Sergeant. He's also an infantryman by trade. We have a lot of things in common. I served in the 5th Marines. You served in the 6th Marines. We can argue about which regiment's better. I'm the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, so it's the 5th Marine Regiment right now. We also happen to serve together in a place called Sangin in Afghanistan at exactly the same time a number of years ago. But more importantly, he's a committed husband. He has a beautiful wife, Rebecca. He has 3, I believe 4 children now, right? 4. 3. He's got a bunch of kids. But the most dramatic thing I noticed inside of his biography was that he was born in 1988. That's an important year for at least two people in the room. One, me. I joined the Marine Corps that same year. And, sir, that's the first year you pitched in the major leagues, is it not? Yeah, Mr. Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
So if you want to feel old in the room right now, know someone we're awarding tonight. Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps was when Randy Johnson pitched his first pitch and I joined the Marine Corps. You retired, sir. It's about time for me to do pretty soon. But he also has a distinguished military record that I spoke about. But what we're here for tonight is to recognize Gunnery Sergeant McMillan's contributions in his service outside of the uniform. Although I mentioned he's been deployed several times, he's served in combat, he's found the time to serve and volunteer for those that are in need. He has served, and I don't know how you did this, Gunny. When he was a student at the Staff Non-Commissioned Officers course, the career course, he volunteered to serve and work the Marine Corps Marathon. I don't know what your grade point average was in the career course, but hopefully it was as good as your service to the marathon. He also coached flag football while he was doing a workup for deployment back in 2016. He's volunteered for an untold number of Semper Fit events. He's volunteered supporting several community and holiday events just this year during PTP. And while he was deployed to Okinawa, he found time to volunteer on base, off base, by serving the community and several base events, mostly helping serve the single Marine program. Thank you for that. He also has found it with himself to say yes when so many others have, should, could, maybe have said no. But, sir, you are here being recognized this evening for saying yes. He's made no excuses. Instead, he's made time for his community, his Marines, sailors, and civilians, and supports the Marine Corps. Wherever he's gone, he's represented the Marine Corps as a true role model. And I would say, sir, that you are a true role model. And as I mentioned before, we got to thank his wife and children. I know she's somewhere here taking care of the 3, maybe 4. That wasn't a secret, by the way. But now I'd like to take the opportunity and mention this. My distinct pleasure to present to a Marine, from a Marine, the Jerry Coleman Award to Gunnery Sergeant Joshua A. McMillan.
Speech. All right, so thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you, Sergeant Major, for the introduction, the entire Active Valor Foundation, the president, the Feller family for coming, Captain Zettler for helping me through all this, getting me down here, me and my family, all the staff and officers that came from 3-6, 3rd Battalion 6 Marines to represent my leadership tonight, and for nominating me for the award. My family who flew through down from Michigan, thank you guys for making it tonight, and especially my wife, 3 kids. Oh, there she is. She's up there dealing with my daughter that's making her presence known. I would say, just like Sergeant Major and Marine Corps said, that the families sacrificed a lot more, and they definitely sacrificed the most for me to allow me to serve the communities. So I'm honored and humbled to accept the award. On behalf of all the Marines and sailors who volunteer their time, a lot of people don't realize it. There's a lot of them that always say yes and do volunteer. So thank you for the award. And on behalf of all the Marines and sailors, thank you. Cool.
Thank you. Congratulations, Gunnery Sergeant McMillan. Yeah. Congratulations. Now, let's honor 3 whose actions, values, and dedication to our servicemen and servicewomen represent the dignity and integrity displayed by Mr. Bob Feller himself. I was privileged to know and have worked closely with Bob for nearly 30 years at the Cleveland Indians and never tired of hearing his rainy day stories, whether they were tales of him on the Ball Diamond or as a chief petty officer aboard the USS Alabama. To hear his tales of a 17-year-old kid in 1936 striking out 17 Philadelphia Athletics to set an American League record and tie Dizzy Dean's Major League record. It was a record that stood for 28 years. Imagine that, being 17 years old, pitching in the big leagues. You strike out 17 batters on September 13th, 1936, and when the season ends, you return to the farm in Van Meter, Iowa, and once again jump on your high school bus with your sister Marguerite to finish your senior year of high school. Just remarkable. At the age of 23, Bob had already won 107 games for the Cleveland Indians when he enlisted following the 1941 baseball season. He was an elite pitcher, a remarkable man, fiercely loyal to both the Cleveland Indians and his country. The Cleveland Indians could not be more proud to play a role in honoring the legacy of the greatest name in our franchise history and the 3 things he held most dear: being a member of baseball's Hall of Fame, being a member of the U.S. Navy and earning the rate of Chief Petty Officer, and being a big league pitcher for the Cleveland Indians. We now recognize the 2019 winners of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award in the categories Hall of Fame, Chief Petty Officer, and Major League Baseball. First, let's recognize the 2019 Bob Feller Act of Valor Award winner in the category Baseball Hall of Fame. To help us honor our Hall of Fame awardee, please welcome the 70th United States Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable John Dalton.
Thank you very much, Bob, and I really appreciate that. And I predict representing in the World Series of 2020, representing the American League will be the Cleveland Indians, and
Attaway, sir.
And representing the National League will be the Washington Nationals.
Can't wait.
Well, thank you all very much for being here, and Margaret and I are very pleased and honored to be here, and it really is truly an honor to once again participate in tonight's award ceremony. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all of the award winners, the honorees of this evening. Bob Feller and I were friends, and I know firsthand of his love of our country and the pride in his service to our Navy on the USS Alabama and to our country. We know he excelled on the baseball diamond, as was mentioned earlier, pitched the only no-hitter on opening day in the history of baseball, and I think that record will last certainly through my lifetime. But make no mistake, he excelled when it came to sacrifice, honor, courage, commitment, and service to the United States of America. It is my distinct honor and privilege to assist in the presentation of our Hall of Fame recipient of the 2019 Bob Feller Act of Valor Award to Mr. Randy Johnson. Randy joins a star-studded group of past honorees that include Johnny Bench, Tom Seaver, Rod Carew, George Brett, Tommy Lasorda, and our inaugural Hall of Fame honoree, Yogi Berra. Our 2019 Hall of Fame honoree is one of the greatest pitchers ever to wear a baseball uniform. His record, his list of achievements on the baseball diamond are legendary. Like Bob Feller, Randy Johnson was a prolific strikeout pitcher, leading the American League in strikeouts 9 times. His 4,875 strikeouts place him second only to Nolan Ryan on baseball's all-time list. Randy enjoyed a 22-year career, winning a remarkable 303 games. He was the World Series MVP in 2001, posting a 3-0 record and a 1.04 ERA to lead the Arizona Diamondbacks over the New York Yankees. Hall of Famer Randy Johnson is an ardent supporter of the U.S. military, having participated in more than 40 international trips with the USO. In fact, Randy called out the USO during his Hall of Fame induction speech. His USO visits began in 2009 and continue to this day. In addition to his support of our military, Randy's community outreach is very strong. He is involved in Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Salvation Army, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and initiatives that assist the homeless. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to present a large man with even a larger heart, Mr. Randy Johnson.
Well, I'm truly humbled and honored to be here, first of all. I got to talk to the gentleman for the baseball team today, and they couldn't shut me up, and now I can't talk right now. I'm a little nervous. But I'd first like to congratulate all the recipients for their acknowledgement, their awards, and their accomplishments. It's outstanding. The military means a lot to me. I had two brother-in-laws that served in Vietnam, one in the Navy, one in the Marines. My brother in the 70s was in Rhine-Main in the Air Force, and my father served in World War II. I got to meet all those gentlemen on the screen that they just showed you at one time or another before. Some of them have passed away. Yogi Berra was one of my favorites. I played for the Yankees for 2 years, and he would always come in along with Whitey Ford. But Yogi would come in and tell me stories. Asked if I had time, and I said, I always have time for you, Yogi. Meeting Bob Feller was a great thrill of mine. He would wear his uniform, his Cleveland uniform, when I was a young man. When I played with the Seattle Mariners, I had an opportunity to meet him a couple of times. And all I could ever think of was his fastball is so legendary that it's in black and white footage, and there's a man on an old motorcycle with goggles, and that's how they used to test the velocity of people back then. I also got to meet Warren Spahn, a true hero of mine. He also served in the military and won most of his games after he came back to the States. He's the winningest left-handed pitcher of all time. And I had an opportunity to meet him on a couple of different occasions back in, I believe it was Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And the first time I met him, I was in awe. And I had already done a lot in baseball, but I was in true awe. And I really didn't know what to say because I was coming off of statistically one of my best years ever. And we sat down, and he had an old smoker's voice. And in that smoker's voice, he put his hand on my shoulder and he says, Randy, what kind of year did you have this year? And I go, Mr. Spahn, I threw 270 innings in 12 complete games, and I won 18 games. And then with a straight face, he looked at me and goes, "Randy, I used to throw 300 innings every year." And that's just the type of people that those men were back in the day. I'm very proud and honored to have met a lot of them. The time that I get to go and visit our men and women around the world is the most rewarding thing that I could ever have done in my life. Playing in the World Series in 2001, obviously, our country came to a halt very quickly. But when it resumed, the regular baseball season was completed, and then the World Series started. And the World Series didn't get going until November, I believe it was, or the end of October. But when we came back to New York, we got asked if we wanted to go visit Ground Zero and meet some of the men and women that were working there. And I was one that wanted to go and shake hands and see the first responders there working, and the ground was still smoldering, and it put everything into perspective for me. What I do, I love to do. I've been doing it since I was 7 years old, and I retired, and I was 46, still doing it. But there's a reason why I can do it, because there's also third world countries that I've visited through the USO that if I was living there, I would not be able to do it. And it's the men and women that I get to meet on flight lines, in tanks, in offices, whoever they are, they're serving our country, and they're the ones that allowed me and allow all of us our freedoms and our abilities to do what we have dreamed of doing. And mine was playing baseball. And so for that, I'm very appreciative of being here, and I'm appreciative of all of you, and I am flattered that I would, for what I enjoy doing, giving my time back to the people that really need that time, to get an award. I just love doing what I do, and that's why I've been doing it for 10 years now, and that's why I had 2 wounded warriors from the Arizona chapter come with me when I got inducted, and I felt that was important. These people are true heroes. I mean, I think sometimes we get a little, our vision sometimes with sports people gets a little blurred, and that's okay. We think them as heroes, but when I was in Bahrain, I'm still seeing a fully armed drone getting ready to take off, and a young man, fully armed with a gun, is protecting the flight line. He's no older than my son. So I'm able to see all these things, all the experiences that I've had, whether it's, seeing Ground Zero or going on all these USO tours and going to Ramstein and seeing the wounded warriors there, and it hits you hard. And so when you come to a place like this, I'm very proud and honored to be here, truly. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. 9-time strikeout king. He owns a perfect game and a no-hitter. What a remarkable, remarkable career. I do have to share one story with you on the connection of Randy Johnson and Bob Feller. You've heard a couple times already that Bob Feller is the only major league pitcher to toss a no-hitter on opening day. It was April of 1940. Flip the calendar to April of 1994. Cleveland, Ohio. The Seattle Mariners are visiting the Cleveland Indians in a brand new ballpark. Opening day, inaugural season of Progressive Field, then called Jacobs Field. And for 7 innings, Randy Johnson is throwing a no-hitter against the Cleveland Indians on opening day. And Mr. Feller, who would always, late in his life, sit in our press box. It was a remarkable thing for our media to have Mr. Feller sit in our press box for almost every ball game. He is pacing in the back of the press box. And anybody who would walk by him, he would go, "You know who threw the only no-hitter on opening day?" And we go, "Yes, sir, it's you." "Yes, sir, we know." All of a sudden, it's the 7th inning, and I'm keeping an eye on him. He bolts into the ESPN television booth. Chris Berman's the play-by-play guy, and now I can't think of who the color analyst was, and he just burst right into the booth in an inning, right during action, right by the technical director, is standing there, and all of a sudden Chris Berman looks up and he's like, "Oh my goodness, it's the legend Hall of Famer Bob Feller." Bob looks at him, he goes, "You know who pitched the only opening day no-hitter in the history of baseball?" And Chris Berman goes, "Yes, sir, that's you." Right then, Sandy Alomar gets a base hit to right field. Sandy got a single to right field to break up Randy's no-hitter. Bob doesn't even say a word. He just turned around, walked out of the booth, said, "My job is done." And to this day, he holds that record of the only no-hitter. Just remarkable. But you're a true treasure, Randy, so thank you for being here this evening. Our next award goes to the Navy Chief Petty Officer who has displayed the same commitment to service that Bob Feller embodied. To make this presentation, it's my honor to introduce Force Master Chief James Smitty Tukorczyk, Naval Air Force, U.S. Pacific Fleet.
Just in case. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, it's not bad enough that I have to follow the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, but then you throw a Hall of Famer in there, too. So, as Sergeant Major Black mentioned, we have several distinguished visitors here today, and all of you, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to join us as well. On behalf of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Russell Smith, and our entire collective Navy Chief Petty Officers mess, I have the honor of introducing a Chief Petty Officer that not only embodies our Navy core values and as an ultimate teammate. Chief Petty Officer Jairo Guidi was born in Honduras and at the age of 13 called the Bronx, New York home. Ultimately, because, unfortunately, because in the middle of a PCS move right now, his lovely wife, Derby, and his children, Gloria, Giuliano, and Darwin, are unable to attend this evening, but I know that they're so proud of you, as the rest of our Chiefs Mess is as well. Luckily, his cousin Marvin was able to make the trip over from Richmond, so Marvin, I'm glad to see you join us this evening, and thank you for being here. Chief Guidi, he joined the Navy in 2001 and most recently served as the Supply Department Leading Chief Petty Officer for the Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, also known as the Blue Angels. And because we all love stats. As the Supply Chief for the Blue Angels, he led 130 sailors and 3 civilians and executed an annual budget of $38 million. His department consistently scored the highest on command inspections and were often referenced as the best in the fleet. He was crucial to the logistical success of the Blues by scheduling and coordinating 104 trucks over the past 2 years, carrying all the squadron's equipment and parts needed to successfully complete 126 shows in 43 different locations throughout the United States and Canada, estimated spectators of 8.3 million people. Chief doesn't only make his command better, though. He makes those individuals around him better. Sailors and Marines, under his mentorship, have completed over 150 college credits, 3 bachelor's degrees, 8 associate's degrees, 75 Navy crew credentials, 35 United Service Military Apprenticeship Program certificates, and accumulated over 1,200 military community service hours. And also 6 Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Awards. A loving husband and father, an incredible leader, mentor, and teammate. I'm a very humble man. I know that Chief Petty Officer Bob Feller would be very appreciative and honored. It's my pleasure to introduce Chief Petty Officer Jairo Guidi.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for attending such a beautiful and well put together event. I'm very humbled and honored to be here today, and I just want to start by thanking the Feller family the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award Foundation, Mr. Peter Furtick who is the president of the foundation, and everyone who made this event possible. Thanks for keeping the Bob Feller memory alive. Fourth Master Chief Tozarkic and my Command Master Chief Christopher Sigler, thank you for being here for me today, and thank you for nominating me for this award. It's something that I was not even, thinking that it was even possible, but obviously you guys seeing something in me that, that nobody else did. So I really appreciate you guys taking your time and doing that. Master Chief Ferguson, which is one of my mentors here that came to visit right now, just want to say thank you for all your mentorship and friendship. I mean, you're always just a phone call away when I ever need anything, and I think that's what makes us all great sometimes, is that we're willing to take care of each other and reach out for those that are willing to help. I couldn't be here definitely if it wasn't because of my family and my wife, my kids. They actually the ones that stay at home the majority of the time when I'm out there volunteering, even if it's the USO or helping some of the sailors and Marines with school, or I'm coaching a soccer team out of town. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that they have to put up with. So to the families here, you guys are the ones that make this possible for us. So I really appreciate it, and I'm truly honored to be able to receive such an award. And thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Chief Giddy. Our final award this evening will be presented to our Major League Baseball honoree. We are so proud of the so many Major League Baseball players who have identified our servicemen and women as the focus of their community impact efforts. Throughout the evening, we highlighted 9 big leaguers who were nominated by their clubs for the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. All season long, these players, their teammates, and baseball clubs provide support to our servicemen and servicewomen directly or to institutions and organizations who assist that effort. Tonight, we honor one in baseball who has shown exemplary support for our military and military families. Our final award of the evening goes to one of the top relievers in the game of baseball today. To present the 2019 Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation Award to Kansas City Royals pitcher Ian Kennedy, please welcome the Undersecretary of the Navy, the Honorable Thomas B. Modly.
A lot of speeches up here. Maybe some of these are good and I can use them. But, thank you so much again. As I said last year, I was pinch hitting for the Secretary of the Navy last year, and I'm pinch hitting for him again. And I'm so glad to have the opportunity again to be introduced by Bob DiBiasio, because he's a legend to me. I grew up in Cleveland. That's probably the reason this is such a special event for me as well. Rear Admiral Jalby, all those recantations about the tragedies of the Washington Nationals over the last 10 years. I'm sitting in my chair and I'm thinking 1954, 1995, 1997, 2016. I was having some flashbacks that were not pleasant. But at any rate, that's what it means to be a baseball fan, really. And Bob talked about intersections, and I think baseball is just such an interesting sport. It's very similar to what we do in the military in a lot of ways. It's a daily grind, and most of what you do in the days, and I only played when I was a kid, but you're playing a 162-game schedule, and you're going through spring training, and everyone's working, but every so often there's an opportunity for an individual to shine in a moment that they didn't know was going to happen. And that's what happens in the Navy, in the Marine Corps, in our military in general. So I'm glad Bob mentioned intersections. Because intersections for me with baseball are very, very clear. And with Bob Feller, I told this story last year that both of my parents came to the United States after World War II, and they were somewhat liberated from oppression there at the time. My father escaped from Hungary in 1948, and my mother from Yugoslavia. Really made possible to come here to the United States because of sacrifices of the armed forces and people like Bob Feller, who took time out of their very, very successful careers to make it possible for them to come here. And my mother ended up being settled in a town just a couple hours away from where Bob grew up, in Waverly, Iowa. And then she then became a nurse, which was her dream, and she ended up in Cleveland, Ohio. And she was in the emergency room the night that Herb Score, one of Bob Feller's teammates, had been hit with a line drive, and he was brought in there for emergency surgery that night. So when I was a kid, I really wanted to play baseball, and my mom would say, yeah, why don't you go to the library instead? And so she'd take me there, and all I would read about was baseball. And the first biography I ever read was Bob Feller's biography. So to have this opportunity, to have this affiliation with this is just really, really special for me. And I've been reading a little bit more about Bob Feller, and I also found out that when Bob signed his first major league contract, they gave him $1 and a signed baseball. And my father, when he got off the boat at Ellis Island, he always told the story that they gave him $1 and a pack of cigarettes, a pack of Lucky Strikes. And it was an opportunity to come to a place of freedom that was fought for and made available to him because of the sacrifice of so many others. So it's just really special for me. And this summer, you saw some of the highlights of this, but this summer I had an opportunity to speak to 150 or so World War II veterans. And Bob mentioned this, that they're leaving us rapidly. And it will, I think, it will be the greatest honor of my lifetime, without a doubt, having the opportunity to talk to them and try to capture for them what their sacrifice meant for this country. And looking at them and talking about, talking about the cemetery at Colville-sur-Mer in Normandy and how beautiful it is, and all the crosses and the Stars of David that mark the graves of the people who never came back. And they, without question, every single one of the people sitting in that audience knew somebody underneath one of those graves. And they would think exactly like Bob Feller said, that those were the heroes and they were just the survivors. But we'll never know why certain people didn't come home and others did. But I think God sorted them out. And the ones that came back to be an example for the rest of us, to carry on that legacy, to tell that story. And that's what's so important about this foundation and what it does, and what Bob did with his life. So on to the award for now. I want to tell you another quick story, and it's a personal story. And it's kind of hard to tell the story without sounding a little bit pretentious, so just stick with me. So I was having dinner with Tom Cruise. Really. And I was talking to him, and I said, hey, Tom, because we're on a first-name basis now. And I said, hey, Tom, my son is an F-16 pilot. He's 24 years old. He's an F-16 pilot in Korea. And I was a Navy pilot, and he grew up in Annapolis. And, I took him to the Blue Angels. But I'm 100% certain that him seeing you in Top Gun is what motivated him to become a fighter pilot. And so I expected Tom Cruise to, across the table, look at me and say, no, I'm sure your wife and you raised him right, you gave him good morals and good ethics and values and all that stuff. But instead he looked at me and said, no, you're probably right. But we all know that that's not the truth. The truth is that somewhere in my son's life and all of your lives here who are on active duty, someone convinced you that what you're doing is an honorable thing to do, to serve, to defend something that's good. And that's what's so important about what people in Major League Baseball and other professional sports do, is they help reinforce that for these young people, because not everyone can be a Major League Baseball player or a football player. But when those people who they see and they recognize reach out to them and demonstrate to them that they're important, it matters. It really matters. So, Ian, I was reading a little bit about your background, and another great intersection story here is that I understand at your wedding to Allison, none of your Yankees teammates could be there, your former Yankees teammates could be there because they were playing the Cleveland Indians in a playoff game, so they couldn't be there. So the Indians, not only ruined your wedding, but also the Yankees playoff run that year, I think. But I was reading a little bit about Ian, and it's just been great to see how he's carried his commitment to service in every single duty station that he's been in. So from his early time with the Yankees, and then on to the Diamondbacks, and then out to San Diego, and now with the Kansas City, he's taken that commitment with Allison to everywhere that he's been, and that's really, really impressive from my perspective. But there's a great quote that I saw, and Ian, I found this on Wikipedia, so you're going to have to tell me whether this is right or not. But when he first got on the field for his first game with the Yankees, he had a statement. He said, I didn't want to seem like I was shell-shocked. I wanted to act like I belonged there because it was my dream, my lifelong dream. I'd watched it on TV, and I'd seen all the players, and I just wanted to be one of them. I can tell you the first time I put on the summer white uniform at the Naval Academy, that's how I felt. And that's how most of these kids that you talk to, these young people, feel about being in the U.S. military, because someone who's important to them convinces them that it's a good and honorable thing to do. So I thank you for that. Congratulations, and come on up and get your award.
If you guys like that quote, then yeah, I said it. That happened a long time ago. I don't remember. I was probably still in shock that I started that day for the Yankees. I was only 22. But thank you for the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation for this nomination and this award, the Feller family. And congratulations to all the recipients. I know you've been said that, but I think I sit here and I'm here tonight that I feel like I don't belong because I play a game, like Randy said, we play something that we love, and I just feel like, when we do these events with all these families and first responders and families, we do it because we feel like it's our duty to say thank you. We feel like, as baseball players, I don't know Bob Feller, but I know his history and a lot of the guys that played and then fought in World War II. And I like to think that I would do something similar to them, but luckily we live in a great country where we have an unbelievable military and allows us to play the game and entertain and use our financial resources or our time alike. You see a lot of these guys up here that were nominated. I mean, I feel like I said, I don't belong up here. Just because it's something that I love to do. I love to entertain the families that sacrifice so much, the servicemen and women that sacrifice so much, people they fought with in wars and are going through a lot of tough times. I've done hunts with wounded vets that I've noticed that we're very, very similar when it comes to teamwork and our mentality and how we attack things. And then when we get away with our families, there's a little bit of a struggle. So when they go back home, I can relate to that. So I noticed that we're very similar. But I really do enjoy my time. Every time we have a game, we have a family comes out or a big group that comes out. So for some of you that don't know, every Saturday home game, we host, I think, up to 30 people in a dugout suite, just so we can give them time to get away with their families. I strongly encourage, every time we do it, I strongly encourage bringing out your families or your wife, because I encourage date nights. And we have, my wife Allison and I have 6 kids, so we're crazy. And so this is a very nice trip for us. We just have our 6-week-old. And, when I bring it up to them, I just want them to get away from whatever stuff's going on at home, for them to come to the stadium. We didn't have very many wins as a Royals organization this year, but, hopefully we get a win for them. They just watch Royals baseball, and they get an experience that they're not going to get again. And I really enjoy it. I know my wife enjoys it, and we love seeing the kids smile and take away their little giveaway bear or whatever they pick out. But like I said, I'm extremely honored to be here tonight, and because without you guys and without all the servicemen and women sacrificing and their family sacrificing, it's our little thing to show our gratitude, to say thank you, and show our gratitude for living in the best country and allowing us to play a game in the best country there is. Thank you.
Thank you, Undersecretary Modly, for being with us again this evening. Congratulations, Ian. Ian proudly joins Major Leaguers Justin Verlander, Nick Swisher, Jonathan Lucroy, Brad Ziegler, Darren O'Day, and 2019 World Series champion Sean Doolittle as past Bob Feller Act of Valor honorees. Again, congratulations, Ian. Thank you for all you do for our servicemen and servicewomen. We are honored to have you with us this evening, and you do belong up here, sir. You do belong up here. Ladies and gentlemen, what a night. What a night. Throughout this evening, we have learned how the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation leverages the unique intersection between baseball and the U.S. Navy. We congratulate all honorees this evening, and our sincerest thanks to all of you for being with us this evening. Please rise for the benediction offered by Chaplain Uboko.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you again for this great night, for everyone who has made it possible, and for all of those we have honored. May their example continue to encourage us to live and to lead with even greater sacrifice and dedication. Help us to serve those around us with a renewed sense of courage, humility, and perseverance. Fill our hearts with generosity and compassion, and give us the vision to see how each of us can inspire those around us to be men and women of valor. As we depart, help us all to travel safely and to go with your grace and your peace. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.